Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan Schlademan. I'm the campaign director for Making Change at Walmart and with the UFCW, and excited to be here. Really enjoy this discussion and think this topic is couldn't be anything more paramount for the labor movement. So, there's been a lot of discussion today about inequality and what we're all facing, and when you work on issues around Walmart every day, inequality is front and center every day, with the Walton family being as rich as they are and Walmart workers being as poor as they are. But I think from a more personal side, I sit here and I think about these questions. I have a 17-year-old daughter who I'm very proud of, and she's about to become a senior in high school. And if we think about this question of inequality and what's happening in our country, think about where we will be in the next 5 to 10 years on these issues if something dramatic doesn't change. Think about, it's not as if any of this is slowing down. It's all speeding up. The attacks are speeding up. Excuse me, the growth of wealth amongst, the billionaires in our society is speeding up. Their impact on our democracy is speeding up. And so, we really are at a crisis point. We really are at a moment where, we have to really understand that, the window for us is closing. But as an organizer, crisis is a good thing. Crisis is when we're supposed to be at our best, right? Crisis is when, in every crisis there's danger and opportunity. And I think the opportunities that exist right now really are tremendous. And I think that's the part that I'm really excited about. But in order for us to take advantage of the opportunities that exist in this crisis, we really do have to adapt. We really do have to change. And I think, it's been a part of the basics of the approach that we've taken with the Our Walmart campaign, with Making Change at Walmart. And I think what's exciting to see is for the first time in my lifetime, right, we're seeing a kind of militancy amongst non-union workers that I've never seen before. We're seeing non-union workers going on strike on a scale that has been unseen in decades. And I'm sure there's a lot of debate about, what those are, or are they truly strikes, or et cetera, is certainly a debate that rages out there. But when we see our Walmart and you see fast food workers, you see the success that the port workers have just had in California, through using strikes and tactics together and really redefining what the strike is, you're starting to see glimmers of what's possible here, what I just think is most exciting. These workers are repopularizing the strike. For how long has it been that strikes were a word that people were afraid of and a word that people would run from, or the word that even labor would run from, right? I remember being trained as an organizer, and the rap I was taught was, strike is the last thing we do. We never, it's the last thing, right? And now our conversations are, you want to make change. Going on strike is one of your most powerful tools, and it's one of the first things to talk about. But I also think what's important here is workers are leading this. When you see fast food workers or Walmart workers or port truckers or others putting themselves on the line, right, putting their income on the line, putting their jobs on the line, and taking that risk. What's exciting to see is that the public is responding to that, right? People are saying, okay, there's something wrong here, right? Why is somebody putting themselves in jeopardy like this? Why is somebody putting themselves on the line like that? And this risk that people are taking is bringing about victories that people not that long ago wouldn't think were possible, and bringing about possible changes and sort of the sight of changes coming that I think are bringing bigger wins in closer sight for people. But I think what's most exciting is this is just in its infancy. We're looking at just in the last few years, we're starting to see this kind of worker activity, and this is really in its infancy. And if it's given the opportunity to grow up, I really do think that that what is being built here, and what in the path that is being built here, really does point to an exciting future. I'll say in terms of the Walmart campaign. I'm honored every day to sort of wake up and get to stand with Walmart workers as they're taking on the world's largest employer, right? Again, Walmart is our largest private employer. 1.3 million workers. Our second largest employer is the U.S. Private sector employer is the U.S. Postal Service, right? So with 300,000, and so the gap between number 1 and 2 is pretty dramatic. But we have taken a lot of sort of by choice and by need have really thought outside of the box with this campaign, and I just think there's a bunch of things here that I think we've learned that I think has a much broader implications for all of labor. I think the first thing and most important thing that decision that was made around this campaign was that we said that we were not going to wait for the government or for Walmart or for any employer to say that we have to have their blessing to build an organization, right? I mean, we all in labor, we spend way too much time waiting for somebody to tell us that we have to get a blessing before we go and build an organization for workers. I mean, the only thing that should matter is if a group of workers want to build an organization, and if we want to stand there and help them do that, like that's all that should matter. You know, because, you know, our Walmart, right? Walmart hates it. It's attacking it every day, right? They're firing workers who went on strike just this last round again. I mean, the attacks continue, and they fight it every day, but it ain't going away, right? And it's going to continue to build, and it's not going to go anywhere. And it's not because the government has said it has a right to be there, right? It's because workers continue to stand with it. You know, and I think secondly for labor, I mean, you know, we have to build our institutions, right? It's part of our responsibility. But we also have to get more comfortable with being catalysts, right? That part of our job as unions is to be a catalyst to let workers that want to build something, you know, go and build it. Because when workers own an organization, and I think, you know, for myself, having been an organizer for more than 20 years, watching these Walmart workers and how they own this organization that they're building and how they treat it incredibly different than any other group of workers that I've ever had the luxury to organize with, including, you know, Houston, you know, and being a part of, you know, of the Houston campaign. I mean, these workers have an ownership on that, you know, is really amazing. And, you know, and it's also translates into their willingness to take bigger risks than, you know, and put that on the line. And their creativity, you know, I mean, Sarita talked about respect the bump, right? I mean, this is a group of pregnant women that are taking on Walmart and winning, right? Winning massive policy changes and all the other kind of stuff. I mean, the organization started because, you know, our Walmart leader was fighting to have a chair at, you know, as she was a cashier, and she said to her manager, "You better respect the bump," right? And that became the sort of the rallying cry that has now turned into a big part of the work of our Walmart. You know, it's the same as veterans of our Walmart are doing this creative work that they're building, and you know, the connection of sort of our Walmart civil rights group that's been built, that's been working with Black Lives Matter, you know, and all of that has been, you know, driven by Walmart workers. The next thing I would just say is online organizing. I mean, our world has changed. Our ability to talk to more workers, right? The biggest, you know, I mean, I've spent a lot of my time jumping in dumpsters trying to find lists of workers. Facebook is the world's biggest dumpster now, baby. Like, I mean, it's, you know, like, there is every worker from every company is there. They'll talk to you. They want to, you know, your ability to have conversations. You know, I mean, we just moved a petition, you know, the $15 petition inside of Walmart, and, you know, that petition reached to, you know, more than 2,200 Walmart stores. Workers signed on to that petition. Would not have been possible if this was an organizer or, you know, workers walking store to store, right? This is because of what online organizing, it creates pathways and allows us to reach farther than ever was possible before. Workers and communities standing together can completely disrupt the status quo. You know, you think about Black Friday, and that's sort of, you know, that is our moment every year. That's sort of the culmination of our work. You know, but what's exciting about it is, I mean, Black Friday has stood for decades as this day of consumerism, and like everybody was going to come and buy all this crap, and it's like this thing. And when in just a few short years of workers and communities standing together and taking that day over, right now Black Friday has turned into this month-long thing, and they're trying to escape this, and it's been moving all over the place. And, you know, and it really does speak to our ability to disrupt. You know, and then bottom line is, you know, minority unionism is powerful. I mean, Walmart workers are winning every day. They're winning their jobs back. They're getting rid of managers. They're solving, you know, they're winning thousands of victories at a store level every day. They're winning national policy changes around, you know, pregnancy, around increased hours. You know, Walmart's announcing that it's going to get rid of the minimum wage. You know, a company who for its entire existence has been, we live at being the lowest wage employer, is now saying that they don't feel like they can exist that way. Really does speaks volumes to what, you know, Walmart workers have been able to do. You know, and they're saying it's because of the inequity debate that's happening in the country. You know, so, I mean, the bottom line here is I just think, you know, the labor movement, you know, we have the ability and the resources to win big. We have the ability and the you know, to change things, but we have to think and act differently. You know, and I think there's really three principles that we need to really function going forward, which is first is we need to stop making decisions about what we can win and start making decisions about what we need to win to change our future. I mean, too often we decide beforehand that we're going to lose something, right? Because, you know, we can't win that, right? We have to start to say we need to win this, right? You know, think about all of the, you know, throughout the history of the labor movement, there's been moments where, we said, we gotta beat Ford, or we gotta, et cetera. And, creative organizers and powerful workers, came up with a plan to do that. Secondly, we have to start putting resources into organizing like we do politics. I mean, you think about how much resources we put into politics and how little resources we ultimately put into, I was in a meeting with President Hoffa this week, and he laid out something for me that I just, I always sort of knew in the back of my head, but it was very clear. I mean, we should all remember, Carter, right, had a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate. There was supposed to be labor law reform. Labor worked its butt off to do their, I was a little young then, I didn't do it, but, nothing happened. Clinton, Democratic House, Democratic Senate, supposed to be striker replacement bill, nothing happened. President Obama, Democratic House, super majority in the Senate, EFCA, nothing happened. We are not going to legislate our way out of our problems, right? As was said earlier, right, it's going to be, when we get legislation, it's going to be acknowledgement of the power that we've already achieved, and that's the only time we're going to get that legislation. And then lastly, we have to take greater risks. I mean, we have to be willing to take greater risks. My favorite saying that I keep on my wall, and I say to myself all the time, is Robert Kennedy saying, only those who are ever willing to fail greatly will ever achieve greatness, right? And it's like, we have to put more on the line. We have to be willing to take these bigger risks. We have to be willing to put it out there. I mean, bottom line, I think, is unless something seismic happens, unless we have a seismic change in what's happening for us, our troubles are going to get worse and worse. I mean, just as Patco was a signal to every business that what was once unacceptable is now acceptable, meaning Reagan firing means you can kill unions, you can fire strikers, it's now an acceptable thing. We need our own Patco. We need something that changes the rules, right? That says to American corporations that treating workers like garbage and paying them nothing while a few people get rich is no longer acceptable. And for us to do that is we're going to have to dig deep, we're going to have to put more resources into it, we're going to have to take bigger risks. But we have those resources, we have that power, we just have to decide to use it. And I think, we have an amazing opportunity with the 2015-2016 presidential election to make this election about something that really matters to everyday working people. So, we are at a crossroads, but we also have control over where our future lies.